I thought it'd be fun to like start with that. Did I scare you?
Oh wait, I didn't think of how to start it.
You know what, we can, is it already recording?
Yeah, I can do that.
You know what, we can start it off like this.
Hi everybody. Okay. I'm Evie, I'll be your host. Welcome to my channel. Today I'll be interviewing Sania. Could you introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay, well, hi people from Evie's channel. My name is Sania Himawan. I am 21 years of age, and yeah, I'm an artist.
What kind of art do you do?
In the beginning, I was more into pen and ink and watercoloring, but I guess over time, as I've developed my skills, I found out what medium works best for me and the tools. So if I have to say now, I'm more into pencil drawing as well as a little bit of digital art here and there.
Which one do you think you prefer?
Pencil. Yes.
Pencil.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because, okay, so with pencil, I've always been more of a traditional artist in the beginning. And with pencil, I feel that there's a lot of movement and different textures I can create with just the pencil itself, as well as it's easier for me to do realism than any other medium.
So would you say capturing realism is a focus in your work?
Oh yeah, for sure, because for the longest point in my, I guess, art journey, I could never draw realistically. Especially with faces, they would always look wonky or off. It just wouldn't look proportionally right. But the first time that I managed to draw realistically, it was with pencil. So I think that kind of has a soft spot in my heart, I guess.
It's cool having a sentimental connection with your medium.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess it's always kind of a comfort thing too, because I love to doodle. And naturally, I think also because, in schools, I would always use a pencil and, just subconsciously doodle. So I think that also holds, a lot of memory and good times too, growing up.
How long have you been making art? When and why did you start?
As to how long? I don't know. I've always dabbled with drawing here and there when I was a kid. My mom used to love drawing, so I think I picked it up from her. She used to doodle as well, in her. So my mom's really big on Sudoku, and so she would always draw faces on the side of the pages, and I always look at them and admire it. So I've always done doodlings here and there, but I guess seriously would be right around 7th grade, 8th grade, and that's when I realized I wanted to do art seriously. So that's why I pursued it more in high school. Took all 4 years of art classes and decided very early on that I wanted art to not just be my passion and my hobby, but my career as well. I knew that I was always a creative person at a very young age, so I knew that for my career in the long term, I couldn't do something that's very monotonous or very robotic. I wouldn't be able to have the creative outbreak for me to really unleash all of that. So for me, the best way is to combine both of those aspects.
Do you think art has helped you through hardship ever in your life?
Oh my god, yeah, for sure. A great example is, with the recent coronavirus pandemic, when we were in, quarantine and lockdown, I obviously could not be able to see friends or whatever. So for me, my outlet was definitely through art. So whenever I would be having one of those really rough days, or when work or school would just get overwhelming, I would just sit down, grab my paintbrushes, and just paint. And before I knew it, like 3-5 hours would go by, and at the end of the day, my mind feels so much more relaxed and yeah, just more at ease with myself, just having that outlet.
When you're painting for yourself in that way, is there a particular thing you usually paint?
Most of the time, I would normally just start off by drawing eyes and doing really faces. I love drawing faces, even though they might not be, I guess, in the sense of realism, but you know, just capturing the sense of emotion, yeah, really captivates me.
And I've noticed that in your work just today. You started off with these big, beautiful eyes, and then in that installation you showed me with the fish eyes, I thought that was just amazing. What things have you learned about art during your journey?
Art can come in many different shapes and form, and it can be also confusing as hell. I understand now why people are like, you know, I don't understand art, I don't know what this means, and you know what? Not everyone's supposed to. I think it really if you see, you know, a great work of art at a museum and you think that's art, then that's art to you. If you see, you know, graffiti or murals, that's art, whatever. Or like, you know, on a road or a dead flower in the middle of the sidewalk, that can also be considered art.
What was it like studying art?
So I studied both design and fine arts, and for me, both of those were a very different journey in itself. So I did design first. So with design, everything was really by the book. It was pretty constricting on, you know, what I can and can't do. On some days I wanted to go a little bit out of the box, but I was told like, no, you don't do that. Like, but regardless of that, it was still a great experience nonetheless, because it taught me things that I otherwise wouldn't have learned had I not taken design. When it comes to fine arts, I wasn't used to the expressive freedom that it offered. That going into class, my teachers has told me like, you can literally do anything. It's basically like, yeah, you can do whatever that you want. So I wasn't used to that. So coming into it, I thought, you know, art, what's the set of rules I have to follow? But I realized that I have to like mash both of those two together.
The drawing and the design?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask about that. So you mentioned drawing or fine arts being a little bit more free, but do you think that learning about design has enhanced your drawing process at all, or vice versa?
I feel like it's definitely enhanced in the terms of the tools that I can apply to my drawings. So example, like I would take a piece of drawing that I did that's just purely done in pencil, but then I would scan it and digitally color it in like Photoshop, for example, because I felt that I could do a lot more if I, you know, digitalize it. Basically the options are really limitless, and also more forgiving too, because the original copy is, you know, still there. Like, yeah.
So it's kind of like now you have this other tool belt and you can use your strengths in both mediums to create a better product.
Yes. So I've always had implements of both of those. I never fit into one category, so having the design and the fine artist part.
I feel like that seems to be a theme for a lot of artists. I wonder if humanity will ever resolve that, or do we have to resolve that?
It's interesting. It's interesting that you mentioned that too, because I'm pretty sure nowadays the digital and the online world is becoming really big. I mean, you just look at Instagram and you see like how many, you know, artists are using the platforms. And so I feel that with the technology, you know, advancing even further, that maybe more artists will have to adapt, because regardless of, you know, if they don't like using digital media or whatever. It is a growing industry, and I guess if you don't want to be left behind, you know, you have to pick up on it, or at least know the tools to use it.
What do you want your art to communicate?
You know, I'll be honest, I have never really thought about that, because if I'm being honest, most of the art that I do are actually for other people. It's very rare that I make art for myself. So, I mean, since most of the art I make is for other people, I guess my only hope is that they like it. That they like it. And I guess it's maybe not so much like the message or the communication, but in all of my art that I try to make, I try to have that distinctive style, so that, you know, if, let's say, touch wood, I become famous one day, people are going to see my art and they're going to be like, oh, I've seen that style before. I know that artist.
What inspires you?
What inspires me? Honestly, seeing other artists, and just seeing all of the passion and the energy that they put into their work, because, you know, they have their own reasonings as to why they do art, their own creative bursts, but also just because I think art in general makes the world a nicer and prettier place to live in too. I mean, who doesn't love seeing, you know, murals or, you know, sculptures, you know, public artworks, you know?
I hadn't thought of it that way.
Yeah.
I like that. Can you run us through your process for creating a new piece?
Oh my god, so a new piece of art is pretty hectic. I don't really have a set plan, so this is probably, I don't know if I would recommend this for the viewers, but this works for me somehow. So typically how I start off is I would normally get a random idea in my head of what I want to draw. Normally it would be for a friend, you know, and then I write it down on my notepad. So on my phone I keep a list of all of the art ideas I want to do in the future. So just as like a little mental note to whenever I can come back to it. And then once I have the time, I will make a really, really rough sketch of what the final image will look like. Sometimes I don't even make a rough sketch, I just go straight to it, because I'm stubborn in a way where I already kind of can picture what the final image will look like in my head. And so I might not even do a rough sketch or a thumbnail, I'll just dive deep into it. I just make sure, let's say if I'm doing pencil, I use a larger sheet of paper just so I have excess, just because I don't know if I might go over the page. Yeah, so then that's normally how I would do it. But the most important aspect is to think realistically of when the piece will be done, and to pace how long you're going to work on it for. So let's say if you can't work on a piece for the entire day, maybe you can set a time, maybe throughout the week you sacrifice 1 or 2 hours, and then, you know, build up on that. Because I've definitely, throughout my journey as an artist, have abandoned, you know, art pieces just because I'm really bad at managing my time in art. I just forget about it. So pacing your time and just really being focused is, I would say, the most important thing. I really do have to plan out my day and, you know, fit art in there somehow if I do want to have this, you know, remain in my life.
What is your advice for artists who are still trying to figure out their style?
Oh my god, you keep on drawing. I don't care if your hand is cramping or if you have a broken hand or something, you keep on drawing. Whenever you feel passionate or or you have that creative burst, you keep on drawing. It honestly took me, I don't even know when, before I found out what works for me or my style, but you know it when the day comes and you find yourself repeating the same kind of thing over and over again, and you just find that it works for you, it comes to you naturally. You don't even have to think twice about doing it, you don't even have to look it up or whatever. So I would just say keep on drawing, keep on practicing. I would say maybe for the first timers, you can get inspired by other artists, but I don't recommend following exactly step by step the same techniques or style that they use, because it's their own style, it's what's
Don't plagiarize.
Yes, also don't plagiarize. That's not cute. But yeah, finding out what works for you is ultimately the best that you're going to do for yourself, no matter how long it takes.
Is that kind of how you found your style?
Yeah, how I found my style is I guess it's very, very early on. I'm gonna have to tell you the long story for this, but just to keep it short, from a very early age, I found that I like things to be dark, really a high contrast in my works. So even when I was, in design, I would always make things very dark or very bold, and that also translated in my art style as well. If I'm talking specifically just with my pencil charcoal drawings, they would typically have a very high contrast, more blacks and all the darks than the whites and the highlights. Various mediums differ, but typically I have more of a darker kind of a style, and not really the conventional, I guess, art you could say.
So I have one more question here that I prepared for you.
Yeah, go for it.
And that is, how long does it take you to create a piece? I see they're immensely detailed, and I know you like to structure and plan them. So how long does your process take on average?
Oh man, okay. See, at this point, we're not even going to talk about hours. I'll give you days.
Wow.
If we're talking about the full process from the minute that it starts from my head to the paper to the computer, all the way up until the final moment I can say it's done, maybe 3 days, 4 days, something like that. But again, it does fluctuate, because sometimes I would look at a piece and say, oh, it's done. But then the next day I would look at it and I'm thinking, this needs to be reworked, or this needs to be changed up. So it really does, differ from piece to piece. But normally, yeah, I'd say 3 days. If I'm taking the whole entire day to work on a piece, then yeah.
That's some dedication.
Oh yeah.
There's a window into the life of an artist, folks.
Yep. It's not an easy journey. You'll definitely have a lot of sleepless nights, but hey, if it's something that you love, you're just going to go full force on it.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Sania. It was lovely making art with you today.
Oh my god, yeah, it was just amazing. Thank you for having me in this interview. I feel very humble that I'm, the first to be featured.
It's an honor. It's an honor to feature you, and I'm so glad you agreed.
Subscribe to Evie's channel.
Like this video, share it if you like it, turn on notifications so you won't ever miss another video. I'm gonna try to do a series on interviewing local artists. So if you are in the southern New Hampshire area, why are you laughing?
You sound so professional. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. You have to fake it till you make it. Gotta start somewhere. I'm doing my best. Anyway, wrapping it up. Thank you. Bye.